Picture a man walking through the dusty streets of Athens, observing every detail of life around him. He doesn't seek answers from the gods or the stars, but from the human condition itself. Aristotle believed that happiness wasn't an accident, a stroke of luck, or a divine gift. It was an achievement, a science of the soul. But how do you reach that excellence? How do you live in a way that each day brings you closer to your best self? In this video, you're going to dive into the philosophy of one of history's most influential thinkers. We'll explore how balance, reason, and virtue form the path to a truly extraordinary life. Get ready to discover that success isn't about accumulation, but about harmony, and that excellence isn't a destination, but a daily practice. It's 384 before Christ. Ancient Greece is the cradle of Western civilization, a place where philosophy, art, and politics flourish in public squares, theaters, and academies. In this vibrant setting, Aristotle is born in the city of Stagira in northern Greece. The son of Nicomachean, physician to the king of Macedon, Aristotle grows up immersed in an environment of knowledge and privilege. From an early age, he's exposed to medicine, nature, and fundamental questions about life and death. At 17, he leaves for Athens, the intellectual epicenter of the Greek world. There, he enters Plato's academy, where he remains for nearly 20 years. Plato, his master, believed that truth lay beyond the sensible world, in perfect and eternal forms. But Aristotle, a tireless observer, begins to disagree. For him, truth wasn't in some distant, unreachable plane. It was here, in the concrete, the observable, the lived. This disagreement wasn't rebellion, but maturation. It was the birth of a new way of seeing the world. After Plato's death, Aristotle leaves Athens. He travels, observes, teaches. He becomes tutor to Alexander the Great, one of history's most powerful leaders. But his true legacy wouldn't be military, it would be philosophical. Upon returning to Athens, he founds his own school, the Lyceum. There he doesn't just teach, he walks. His students follow him through the gardens, debating ideas while moving. That's why they became known as peripatetics, those who walk. Aristotle dedicated his life to a grand mission, to understand the human being in its totality. He wrote about logic, physics, biology, ethics, politics, poetry, and metaphysics. But above all, he asked, what does it mean to live well? What does it mean to be excellent? And his answers have crossed millennia. They still echo today in every choice we make, in every moral dilemma we face. Because Aristotle wasn't just speaking to his time, he was speaking to all times, and to you now, at this very moment. There was a question that haunted Aristotle, a question that all of us at some point also ask. What is the ultimate goal of life? What are we really seeking deep down? Wealth, pleasure, power. Aristotle watched the people around him. He saw merchants accumulating coins, politicians chasing glory, hedonists pursuing fleeting pleasures. And he noticed something crucial. None of these things were ends in themselves. Wealth was desired to buy security or comfort. Power was sought to achieve other goals. Pleasure was temporary, evaporating like mist in the sun. Then he reached a revolutionary conclusion. There is only one thing we desire for its own sake, not as a means to something else, and that thing has a name, Eudaimonia. The word is often translated as happiness, but that's insufficient. Eudaimonia is deeper. It's flourishing. It's the full realization of human potential. It's living according to reason, virtue, and excellence. It's being who you were meant to be in the best way possible. But how do you achieve this? Aristotle didn't offer shortcuts or magic formulas. He said something radical for his time, and even more radical for ours. Eudaimonia is built, not found. It doesn't fall from the sky. It doesn't come from a stroke of luck. It's the result of consistent choices cultivated habits, a life lived with intention. Imagine a sculpture. Raw marble doesn't transform itself into a masterpiece. It requires a chisel, patience, and vision. So it is with the human soul. Aristotle saw us as sculptors of ourselves. He realized that most people lived on autopilot. They reacted to circumstances, were carried by emotions, followed impulses without questioning. But excellence requires something different. It requires you to wake up, to observe your patterns, to deliberately choose who you want to become. And that choice, repeated day after day, transforms you. That was Aristotle's turning point, understanding that the good life isn't an accident, it's an art. And we can all become artists of our own existence if we're willing to pick up the chisel and start sculpting. At the heart of Aristotelian philosophy is a simple but profound idea. Virtue lies in balance. Aristotle called this the golden mean, the doctrine of the middle way. He observed that every excess and every deficiency is destructive. Courage, for example, is a virtue, but if you have too much courage, you become reckless, throwing yourself into unnecessary dangers. If you have too little courage, you become cowardly, paralyzed before challenges. True courage lies in the middle ground, in the ability to face fear rationally and appropriately to the situation. This applies to everything. Generosity lies between greed and wastefulness. Confidence lies between arrogance and insecurity. Healthy ambition lies between laziness and insatiable greed. Aristotle teaches us that extremism in any direction takes us away from excellence. And here's the challenge. Finding the middle ground isn't mathematical. It's not simply splitting two extremes down the middle. The golden mean is relative to each person, each situation, each moment. It requires practical wisdom, what he called phronesis. Phronesis is the ability to judge well. It's knowing what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. It doesn't come from books or abstract theories. It comes from experience, reflection, error, and learning. It's wisdom forged in real life, in difficult decisions, in moments when there are no easy answers. Aristotle said we become virtuous by practicing virtue. You're not born brave. You become brave by facing fears. You're not born generous. You become generous by practicing generosity. Virtues are habits, and habits are built through conscious repetition. Now, think about your life. Where are you out of balance? Maybe you work too much, sacrificing health and relationships, or maybe you avoid challenges, staying in your comfort zone. Maybe you're too hard on yourself or too indulgent. Aristotle invites you to look honestly, not to judge yourself, but to know yourself, because self-knowledge is the first step to transformation, and transformation is the path to eudaimonia. He reminds us that we're not victims of circumstances, we're architects, and the blueprint is in our hands. You might be thinking, this is beautiful in theory, but how do I apply it in the chaos of modern life? We live in a world of extremes. We're bombarded by messages telling us to do more, be more, have more. Social media pushes us toward constant comparison. The market sells us the idea that happiness is consumption, and at the same time, there's an epidemic of burnout, anxiety, and existential emptiness. Aristotle would be looking at all of this and saying, you've lost your balance. Let's start with something simple, work. Our culture glorifies extreme productivity. Working 80 hours a week is seen as a badge of honor. But Aristotle would say that's not virtue, it's vice. Excessive work destroys your health, your relationships, and your ability to enjoy life. On the other hand, laziness, lack of purpose, also takes you away from excellence. The golden mean is meaningful work done sustainably that allows you to grow without consuming you. Now think about your emotions. Our culture also swings between repressing everything and exploding dramatically. Some believe showing emotion is weakness. Others think they should express every feeling intensely. Aristotle would say, both are wrong. Emotional virtue lies in feeling what's appropriate, to the right degree at the right time. This isn't coldness, it's emotional intelligence. It's having anger when injustice happens, but channeling it into constructive action, not destructive. It's feeling sadness without drowning in it. It's celebrating joy without depending on it to feel complete. What about relationships? Aristotle dedicated a large part of his Nicomachean ethics to friendship. He said true friendship is essential for eudaimonia, but not all friendships are equal. There are friendships based on utility. You're friends with someone because that person helps you in some way. There are friendships based on pleasure. You enjoy being together because it's fun. And there are friendships based on virtue. You respect each other. You inspire each other to be better. These last ones are rare and precious. Ask yourself, how many true friendships do you have? And are you being the kind of friend you want to have? Finally, think about how you deal with failure and success. Aristotle would teach us not to inflate ourselves in victory nor destroy ourselves in defeat. The middle ground is realistic humility. Celebrate your achievements without arrogance. Learn from your mistakes without sinking into self-pity. See everything as part of the process of becoming who you should be. Life isn't a race to a final destination. It's a journey of constant improvement, and each day is a new chance to practice virtue, to adjust the balance, to choose excellence. More than 2,300 years have passed since Aristotle wrote his ideas. Empires have risen and fallen. Technologies have radically transformed human life. But the central question remains, how do we live well? And Aristotle's answers remain incredibly relevant, because he wasn't talking about tricks or hacks. He was talking about human nature. And that nature, in essence, hasn't changed. We live in an age of anxiety. People seek happiness in apps, in shopping, in external validation. But eudaimonia isn't out there. It's within. It's in the choices you make when no one's watching. It's in the silent discipline of cultivating good habits. It's in the courage to face your shadows and work on them. Aristotle reminds us that you don't need perfect circumstances to live an excellent life. You need intention, practice, and patience with yourself. He also teaches us something modernity has forgotten. You're not an island. Eudaimonia isn't an isolated individual project. It happens in community. Aristotle said the human being is a political animal, not in the partisan sense, but in the sense that we're made to live together, to contribute to something greater than ourselves. Your personal excellence impacts others. Your virtues inspire. Your balance creates harmony around you. When you choose to live well, you're not just transforming your life. You're changing the world, one interaction at a time. Think about the great leaders, artists, thinkers we admire. What do they have in common? It's not perfection. It's the constant pursuit of excellence. It's the ability to rise after falls. It's the wisdom to learn from mistakes. It's the humility to recognize there's always room to grow. They're living examples of Aristotelian philosophy. And you can be too. You don't have to be famous. You don't have to change the entire world. But you can change your world. You can be excellent at what you do. You can be virtuous in small choices. And that, according to Aristotle, is everything. His legacy isn't just in dusty books in libraries. It's in every person who decides to live with purpose, in everyone who chooses balance instead of extremes, in every soul that awakens to the transformative power of virtue. Aristotle didn't give us an instruction manual. He gave us an invitation to sculpt the best version of ourselves, to live not on autopilot, but with full awareness, to seek not superficial happiness, but deep and lasting flourishing. Before dying, Aristotle left Athens one more time, fleeing political persecution. He said he wouldn't allow the Athenians to sin against philosophy a second time. Referring to Socrates' execution, he died in exile at 62, far from the city he loved. But his ideas? They never died. They crossed oceans, languages, and centuries. They've reached you today, now. And the question remains, what will you do with this? Aristotle said knowledge without action is useless. Philosophy isn't an intellectual exercise, it's a way of life. So here's the challenge. Choose one virtue, just one. It could be courage, it could be patience, it could be generosity, and practice it. Every day seek balance in that area. Observe your excesses and your deficiencies. Adjust, fail, learn, try again. Because that's how you build a life of excellence. Not in grand heroic gestures, but in small, consistent choices. Remember, you're not what you think you are. You're not what others say you are. You are what you do, repeatedly. Your habits define you, and your habits are under your control. The chisel is in your hands. The marble of your life waits to be sculpted. Each day is a strike of the hammer. Each choice is a detail, and over time, a masterpiece emerges. Not perfect, but beautiful. Not finished, but always evolving. Aristotle believed that excellence isn't an accident, it's a choice. And he also believed in you. He believed every human being has the potential to achieve eudaimonia. The only question is, do you believe? Are you willing to do the work? Because the world doesn't need more perfect people. It needs people brave enough to try, people willing to seek balance, practice virtue, live with intention, people like you. Now tell me, what's stopping you from starting today? Which virtue will you choose to practice? And how will you adjust the balance in your life? Leave your answer in the comments. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. And remember, the journey to excellence begins with a single step, and that step is yours.